trending stories, and this is certainly a big one that's happening right now. It has to do with Microsoft. So, as we know, during this pandemic, a lot of stores have closed. Different regulations happened. Some stores closed permanently, some temporarily, but Microsoft making this announcement today that they are closing their stores permanently. And this is a pretty big move. So Microsoft started opening up their stores in about 2009, really to combat with Apple. As we all know, the Apple stores are pretty iconic in themselves. Microsoft wanted to follow suit with that. They have about, I believe it was 100 stores in the U.S. And 10 stores internationally, or more than 100 stores here in the U.S. right now, but those ones are going to be closing. This is part of what that announcement is. They said that they don't plan to reopen it. They did say that it's going to end up costing the company about $450 million to close all of these retail stores, but they are in some pretty major locations, obviously. They're in New York and all over the place with these huge locations that they have. They really did, if you've ever been into a Microsoft store, it really was kind of modeled a lot after the Apple experience, but closing permanently. So it's kind of a sign of the times of where we're at right now as we see COVID cases going back up, a lot of retail locations trying to think about how to handle it. They said they're going to be moving to an all-online sales approach. They did say that the employees that they have currently will be offered jobs to help facilitate the online side of things, but that is the big announcement there today. So about 100 stores in the U.S., UK store just launched last year, 10 other stores internationally. So yeah, kind of an end of an era there. Microsoft closing all of their stores due to the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, continuing on here with trending news. Let's talk about facial recognition technology. This has been a very big subject, particularly over the last few weeks, as many companies have banned the use of their technology for police forces due to systemic issues in the algorithms of facial recognition technology, in that they misidentify people, in particular people of color. And now there is a push federally to ban the use of facial recognition technology for police forces as well. So this is a Democratic-led bill that was put forth in Congress. It's called the Facial Recognition and Biometric Technology Moratorium Act of 2020. It's a long name, but what it is essentially it would prohibit federal agencies from investing in facial, voice, or gait recognition technology, so monitoring how somebody walks, until this stuff can be sorted out. It said it would also curtail the use of biometric surveillance by state and local governments. So what all that would be and how that would actually be applied remains to be seen there in the bill. But nonetheless, this is an actual push to stop this. And there are so many issues and studies that have come out about facial recognition technology and about how it's very unreliable when it comes to a lot of things. And that's why you see a lot of the companies that are wanting to roll back the use of this by police forces. And now this governmental push is certainly a big one for that. There's a lot of studies have come out talking about how this does not work right. And so that's what's coming out with that. Again, the act is the Facial Recognition and Biometric Technology Moratorium Act of 2020, going through Congress right there. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on here with trending news at the top of the show, Amazon may be sending driverless vehicles to your door here at some day. And they made a big push for this today by acquiring the self-driving taxi firm Zoox. Zoox is somebody who's been around for a while. They've been working on autonomous vehicles. They had a whole plan to launch actually a driver service kind of along the lines of what Lyft and Uber, something like that, a ride-sharing service. But that was all kind of put on hold because of the pandemic. But now Amazon just bought them for allegedly about $1.2 billion. That's being reported by the Financial Times. I don't think Amazon's actually said how much it was, but a couple of sources are saying that. So about $1 billion they bought Zoox. And this goes along Amazon's push towards providing more infrastructure and vehicles of their own. We've seen them buy airlines. I mean, they have pretty much their own airline at this point. They've provided a lot of their own drivers, and now this would be a push toward driverless delivery. And Morgan Stanley analysts said that in May in a report that driverless delivery for Amazon would save them more than $20 billion each year. So the $1 billion investment towards that kind of seems like that's where they're going with that for driverless delivery. But again, that's Amazon, $1 billion investment, or buying, not even investment, buying Zoox outright. They said it'll still operate kind of autonomously, but it will be overseen by Amazon. So a big move by them today. Continuing on here with trending news, let's talk about the coronavirus again. And that is certainly something that's on a lot of people's minds as we see how it has changed our world and what kind of the impact of the pandemic has been for both quarantine and just how it's changed things. And there's a new map, a new dashboard that came out from the collaboration of some space agencies that have come together. We have NASA, the ESA, the European Space Administration, and JAXA, which is the Japanese one. They all came together and combined a bunch of their information from 17 of the different agencies' satellites and combined with human activity to showcase how it has affected things. So that comes from not just climate indication like air quality, but they also showcase population density, night light levels. So clearly, you know, they can get if you've ever seen those images from space of the glowing cities, they've got that information. They've got transportation activity. And so they've got all these different indicators. You can go through. You can sort the data by country. It's a lot of information if you think of the three of these combining to just kind of give a good idea of what kind of an effect this has had. And certainly that's something we're going to be analyzing for a long time, but this is a pretty intriguing, fairly real-time information about what's going on. They said they're going to be adding more indicators as they go on, so they'll be showcasing other factors as they get more information put into there. But really it's about for anywhere in the world, I believe. And they said they're going to regularly update it. Yeah, even things like water clarity, you know, all kinds of different things that have been put into there. So, you know, because water clarity did improve certain places, so they'll showcase what that is. But a lot of information, pretty interesting dashboard. We've got an article up at Digital Trends that you can go there and read about it and then click through and actually try it out. But certainly kind of fascinating to see what kinds of changes this has had in so many different ways. And that, again, is at digitaltrends.com. Continue on here. Trading news. Let's talk about Google. Something that I think we can all agree it is annoying are robocalls. And there's been a lot of efforts to stop robocalls, but also, if you're like me, a lot of other people probably do this too, where you just, if you don't recognize the phone number, you just don't answer it. Well, now there's a way that could actually change some of this up. And that is because we've got Google, who is announcing that they are going to be, well, this is from a report actually from somebody else, about Google developing a feature called verified calls. So verified calls is going to work like this, in theory. A business would be working with a Google server that would handle the verified calls, a verified calls partner, and then they would actually be able to input who they're calling, why they're calling, like a brief explanation of why they're calling to say it's, you know, to schedule an installation of cable or something like that. So when you got a phone call, and this would go through the Google Phone app, it would pull up and it would say, hey, it's, I'll just use an example, it's Comcast. They want to schedule an installation of your cable. Here's their phone number. So you know before you pick it up that it's verified and it will showcase their logo. And then that way you're not answering potential robocalls or spam calls or anything like that. So this is a whole system that would probably take a while to get developed, but it would be, again, verified calls going through the Google Phone app, which you can download right now. Right now, it would probably just be on Android phones when this does roll out, but another interesting use case of their technology that Google's been building out for all of this stuff. They have a lot of different AI sources right now where you can actually use it to schedule things. It's pretty fascinating where they're going, but I think we can all agree that less robocalls, more knowing what people are calling about would probably be a good thing. I can't imagine anybody being against that in theory, but that is something you can read more about at digitaltrends.com. And we've got some other news here. Is this the Ford F-150 is being released? And yes, Ford F-150 is, I believe, and I could be wrong, it's one of the best-selling vehicles in the United States and beyond, I'm sure. But they had their big event last night, and Dennis Leary even emceed it. But some of the big things about it are the technology side of things with this. So it's got this system called Sync 4. They really upped it. You can see that, a giant touch screen. They've got a 12-inch screen that can be split so that users can control multiple functions simultaneously, navigation, music, truck features. It's got the Sync system has an embedded 4G LTE modem. It can provide Wi-Fi access for up to 10 devices. Again, this is all coming from an F-150. It's got all the other standard features, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all of that. It's got a surface space set up for laptops for working from your vehicle. And they also said that they have an EPA estimated range of this being the key thing here, the hybrid version of this. It's a hybrid version that would get about 700 miles on a single tank of gas and deliver at least 12,000 pounds of maximum towing. So a hybrid F-150. We do anticipate they're going to be releasing an E version of this at some point. So this wasn't the E version, but it does seem to be going in that direction. So kind of a lot of tech there to analyze with that, but we've got all those details at digitaltrends.com.